Well, good evening, Iowa. Not just Des Moines tonight. Good evening, Iowa. From this is the Doc and Lefty program.
And the rest of the world.
Broadcasting to you live from the WebcastOneLive.com studios in beautiful downtown Des Moines. With me, as always, that fearmonger who won't take a break, Dr. Pat Petrosh. Doc, it is Election Day.
It is Election Day. And
I voted before I came down.
Oh, yeah? Who'd you vote for?
Well, you know who I
David
voted
Young?
for. You know who I voted for.
David Young.
A straight Democratic ticket, my man.
Oh, man. You didn't even bother to think, did you?
Well, I did.
Oh, all right.
I thought long and hard, and I realized that every single Republican candidate was a kook who scared the crap out of me, and I didn't want to vote for him. Right? Because that's what all election, and we'll talk about this. That's what all election analysis by every national pundit around the country. Not necessarily Iowa. We've got some pretty responsible political scientists here in Iowa. But national pundits from every major news organization, that is what election analysis gets reduced to, and that's what every candidate argues in their ads now, is that the other person in the race should scare you to death and get your pitchforks and torches, vote for me.
Yes, absolutely. Well, because that was what my blog was about. Did you read my blog?
I did.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, and you're absolutely right. Fear-mongering is just is idiocy. And, hold on. I should ask, how have you been? What'd you do? Last week, I told the voters you were out campaigning for higher taxes and bigger government.
It's funny.
How'd that go?
Well, we're doing pretty well so far. If you've read the tax code or looked at the administrative regulations in any state in the country. But what's funny about that? I'll be honest with you. I was out picking blueberries with my lovely fiance. No, we went to a poetry reading at the Des Moines Social Club for one of her classes.
Oh no!
And
I wanted to go to that. I forgot all about it.
And Jack Hatch was there.
Yeah.
In the next room over, and I was not. And by the time I got done with that, I was there because my fiance is great, and what's really fascinating, she's a fairly talented writer, which she discovered just recently, and her composition, her literature professor said, told all the class you had to go to this thing and go to this reading and experience a little bit of culture in Des Moines, and we did. And she gets done, and she says, "Boy, I'm glad that I'm going for accounting, because she's a talented writer. She thinks deeply about some things, but she enjoys working with numbers and the business side of stuff a lot more than sitting listening to three poets talk about how angsty they all are." Of course, I ate it all up.
Yeah,
of course I did. But no, the sad thing was Jack Hatch was there with a little rally next door to where we were sitting, and by the time this reading seriously took like 45 minutes. Three poets, each read for 15 minutes. It was easy. Something even you could do. No.
Yeah. Well, I can read.
Oh, I know. And I know that you do enjoy literature.
Yes.
You do.
Yes, I do.
And that's why we get along so well. We're both thoughtful people. By the time I got done, they were already gone. Can you believe that?
No kidding.
It just, because it had only they'd only been going for like probably a half hour to an hour before I even got there. And they were gone by the time that thing got done.
That's been the story everywhere. Remember that poll I was talking about a couple of weeks ago with about the governors and all that, about the Governor Branstad up just over 50%, Lee Heben. I said 23%. She's actually 26%. Jack Hatch at 3%. And John Narcissus right behind him at like 1.8% or something.
That leaves a lot.
So you're like,
where's the other 24% of the? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. But I know that you certainly wanted to talk about the Iowa poll.
Oh yeah,
Des Moines Register.
We'll get to that.
Ms. Seltzer.
Here. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about what happened to me this weekend.
Oh, by all means.
Because occasionally the show should be about me.
It generally is, which is why I ask you all the questions. And let you
pontificate.
Right. But you very rarely volunteer anything about yourself, buddy.
Well, that's true. Now, I'm going to tell you, a wonderful event that hadn't happened in 34 years occurred this weekend in the hallowed fields of Soldier Field.
You realized that poor people aren't evil.
No, I never said poor people are evil. I just said they make bad choices. Keep in mind, I was a poor person at one time. I know how I got there.
Soldier Field, sorry.
So
go
we're
ahead.
on Soldier Field. The New Zealand rugby team came to Soldier Field and played the USA Eagles and thoroughly crushed them. Stomped on them like a redheaded stepchild. Beat them like the Russians usually beat everybody in hockey, and outplayed us like the USA basketball team outplays everybody else in the universe. Here's what was fantastic. Not only had not ever happened, two, the New Zealand players were very upfront. They're very accessible. They would talk to you. And the third thing that was exciting is now there's serious talks about having more professional rugby played here in the U.S. Now, keep in mind, the USA is not a professional team. It's a bunch of volunteers.
Right.
So I will tell you, it was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And the best thing is, and this is how it was covered overseas, the Eagles really are terrible. We're glad we pounded them. That's really what the coverage was. There's one article in The Guardian that talked about, because we were all walking back, they were talking about how even with the thrashing that we've taken, the Americans were still chanting USA, USA after the beating we took. We were just excited. Now, I'm going to tell you, in my lifetime, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me, but I'm going to tell everybody, get out there, start looking at rugby. It's a lot more interesting than football. Football, you sit there 2 seconds of something, and then you sit around for another 30 seconds waiting for something else to happen. Rugby is always moving, always flowing, and you have to think. You have to think about what you're going to be doing next. It's a lot like chess with smear the queer. I don't know if I can say that.
Oh, boy. No, you can't.
But, everybody knows. My generation, it didn't mean that. It just meant, what it meant.
Well, sure.
Yes. So, anyway, if anybody wants to harass me, go to docandlefty.com and harass me there. Blake and I both have our blogs up. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to talk a little bit about our sponsors now. Des Moines Anesthesia is trying to expand its pain part of its practice. They're in Fort Dodge and Des Moines, and their number is right there, 515-574-6442. Dr. Lee Heeb, Heeb2014.org. We want to thank her for her sponsorship of our show, BertrosianAssociates.com, LubinusLawFirm.com, and Halo Capital at DesMoinesInterestrates.com. Follow us at Doc and Lefty and Facebook and Twitter. We'll be back right after this break.
Bertrosian Associates, how can I help you?
Bertrosian Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Bertrosh, provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, and thanks for sticking around. And if you haven't voted yet, go vote. If you've been following the show for, gosh, how is this 3 years now? We've been doing this.
We're coming up on 3 years.
Our 3 year anniversary is probably already past us because I think it was in October.
Yep.
Of 2011 when we got started. So This is now our second election that we have been on the air for.
Yes.
Starting in 2012.
Yep.
And if you remember if you were paying attention to the show or following the show and remember back that far, 2 years ago, that was the primary. The primary is what I was talking about. I'm sorry,
Yep.
I got my dates confused. If you remember back a few months or this past summer when the primaries and I came in the next week after the election complaining about how like 18 people in my precinct had voted in the primary total the entire day, showing up there, hopefully more absentees or whatever. It was after I went after the show right before the polls closed, and I actually got out and voted earlier today. I'm the rare Democrat that goes to the poll. Yes. I like to go. I like to actually sit there and do it, and take the time. I don't know why. Maybe I'm a little bit traditional that way. So if you haven't gone, the polls close at 9. You can listen to us. You can take us with you and call it up on your phone or whatever it happens to be, whatever internet access you have. So go and do that. And then come right back, and if you've got any voter stories or any want to talk about the vote that you cast or why you cast it or whatever it happens to be, you can give us a call here at the studio. Maddie will flash that number for you guys. But call in, let us know. Just got any sort of polling issue that you want to do throughout the show. We'll be talking to Dr. Lee Heap here in a little bit, and so we won't be able to get to everybody. But if you have those kinds of moments, or just want to talk about the election, we're certainly here to.
You bet. So how many people have voted by the time you got there?
Well, I went and voted early this afternoon around 3-ish, I think, or about 2:30. 220. I was the 225th ballot cast,
that's really good.
Which is better in my precinct, and there was still probably 5 or 7 people that were in there, and more. Yeah. And I live over on the north side. The Mount Olive Church on 2nd Ave, so you're basically between Euclid and University, that kind of, and it's actually a little bit smaller than that. But
I was kind of concerned. You know what? I'm having some concern about Dallas County because I've been reading some. Well, Chad Earhart, he's I can't remember what he does over there, but he does something important over there, and he had posted at about 9:30 today that he had voted and he was the number 2 guy. He was the second one. Now, over my district, I voted after work today. I was 533, and there are lines and plenty of people going in and out. So, but what's happening, and I was discussing this with a fellow Republican operative from Dallas County. He's afraid that David Young has actually suppressed the conservative vote in Dallas County and the district over there.
Really?
Yeah, and he said, and I was talking to him just before I rolled over here on the show, and he said that might be something that's going to come into play. He lives over in Dallas County, and there's hardly any signs for David Young that you can see. Stacey Apple has far more signs, and another thing, in Brad Zahn's home district, of which I'm a part, there Apple Braley and John Forbes signs are easily 2-1 over David Young. And
I do a lot of traveling down into Marion County, which is almost universally Republican.
Yes.
And so I see a lot more, but Marion County is no longer in the 3rd district for us.
No.
So it's a Loebsack Miller Meeks race down there. And I don't think anybody's really watching that one too closely because no one expects her to do much against him. But and I don't think that says anything about her candidacy necessarily. It's just,
I mean,
she's run against him twice and lost both times. Eventually, that catches up to a candidate, no matter what political party.
And that's true. And keep in mind there's Cedar Rapids in that mix, and that's a heavily union.
Sure,
heavily union.
Iowa City.
So, yep.
Even though not Latham. Good grief. Gosh. And here's the podcast, and I lived over there for 7 years. Can't come up with his name off the top of my head because he's been out so long.
Yeah.
The guy right before Loebsack.
Lightfoot?
No,
Lightfoot.
No, Leach. Jim Leach. Jim Leach had represented that district forever.
Yeah.
Getting the conservative older folks over on the east and north side of Iowa City to vote for him year after year after year. But that's kind of changed a little bit now with Dave Loebsack.
So there's a lot of angst out there. A lot of the polling shows a close race in the 3rd district, and that shouldn't be a close race. With the advantage in the 3rd district of Republicans to Democrats, it shouldn't even be a contest. But the polling is
close. You mean
Apple and Young
in registered voters? Because the registered voters is fairly well split in the 3rd. Between Democrats and Republicans.
Are you sure?
I think so.
Well,
yeah.
Well, the last time I looked, I thought they were up plus.
Well, why don't I check that out? Because I could be wrong. Why don't you?
I mean,
because it's interesting that you're talking, and maybe you're just sort of trying to soft pedal the sweep that's about to happen here, but because no one all the other Republicans for crying out loud, my good buddy Ed Bull down in Marion County, down in Knoxville, is predicting a Joni Ernst win by 12 points. I think he's a little exuberant. I don't think anybody is thinking that's likely, but he's predicting a landslide Republicans across the country. And so why is it that you and maybe some of your folks up here are a little bit cautiously optimistic?
Well, I'm gonna, for me, I think the Ernst Braley fight is, and of course, the polls haven't even closed. We're not going to know anything till like 9 o'clock. That's going to be the earliest. But I think that the Democrats, not necessarily Braley, but the Democrats and other PACs have done a very good job of, like you said before, fear mongering about Joni Ernst is going to take your rights. She's going to, she's a big scary boogeyman. She's going to jump out of the closet, eat your children, kind of thing. And
prove to me that none of those things are true.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
what information do you have to prove to me?
When was the last time you knew any political candidate that would actually jump out of a closet and eat a child?
That's normalcy bias, my friend. Just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it's not gonna happen. Just for the fact that you're so cavalier about it means that you're not even qualified. I want to see your.
I don't like these role reversals. You know that. I just don't like them.
I want to see the credentials that you have that make you an expert on children getting eaten by politicians.
Yeah, you know what? I'm a child and adolescent psychiatrist. That makes me expert enough on monsters in the closet. Let me tell you. So they've done a fairly good job, and it's kind of a reverse gender thing. I mean, men are voting for Joni, and women are voting for Bruce or Bill or Frank or whoever Obama happens to call him this week.
Obama knows his name. Michelle doesn't.
Yes, well, that's true.
She doesn't need to know his name though.
No,
because she's fantastic.
Well, yes, okay. Obviously, because she loves telling little kids what to eat for lunch. Go get a real job. That's what I got to say to her.
What?
That's right. She's
throwing shade at the first lady. Who are you right now?
I'm telling you. She's sitting here going, well, listen, this is what I think is a good,
go
lunch.
Get a
and
real.
You look at the picture of it, and you're going like, I want to eat that.
Would you have ever said that about Laura Bush?
I wouldn't need to say that about Laura Bush.
Go get a real job?
I wouldn't need to say that about Laura Bush.
Are you kidding me right now?
Yes, that's right.
I'm still pulling up the numbers. Go ahead.
So David Young. Now, I'm sure a lot of conservatives are going to hold their nose and vote for him anyway. But I'm going to tell you that every time I turn around and talk to anybody about David Young, including moderate Republicans who believe in gay marriage and abortion, are saying we're not even sure he's going to be fiscally conservative. We're not even sure he's going to be fiscal moderate. And I don't know why he's positioned himself that way. But the bottom line is this is a district that Republicans had in hand, and it looks like it might not go Republican. Now, we talked to Sam Clovis, and we both respect his opinion. Sam says, there's probably a pretty good chance he's going to, David Young's going to pull that one out. But it's going to be one of these things where I predict a hefty challenge next time he's up for election.
Go ahead. Keep going.
Rhonda Byrne in my district, she gave it the old college try. But, I've never personally met her, and I can tell you most people that want to run in that area come talk to Brad Zahn, me, Brad Boostad. Those are the kind of people, and she never came and talked to me. So I don't know how well she's going to be reaching out to people. We're going to be back right after this break. The guy wake Maddie up back there. You wake, Maddie? She gives us a thumbs up. We'll be back right after this break. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the Des Moines Register poll.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
See them here, see them there. You got bad credit? We don't care.
Visit emetroford.com for your guaranteed credit approval. Good credit, bad credit, no credit. Everybody drives with guaranteed credit approval at emetroford.com. Visit emetroford.com today.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. I just wanted to follow up with the comment about the 3rd district, and it's pretty even. And what I was saying is that it's fairly even between Democrats and Republicans. The Republicans do have a majority, or have an edge by about 11,000 registered voters over the Democrats, who come in 3rd behind the Republicans at 165, the Independents at 159. And the Democrats at 154, and so the Republicans do hold that edge. But what I would, I guess, point to is that between the three, it's split pretty close to 33, 33, and 33. And so any political candidate that wants to do anything in the 3rd district has really got to court those independent voters here in our neck of the woods.
Well, and that may be what he's doing, and geez, he's made it further in the process than I have. So, hats off to him. With a correction, my brother wrote and said Cedar Rapids is not in the district. Apparently,
no, that's in Bruce Braley's district.
Yeah, and
old district, District 1. Yep.
And he said Republicans won this last 3 elections. I'm not quite sure what that means because they haven't won it the last 3 elections.
The District 1?
Yeah.
Well, no, of course. I mean, Bruce Braley's been representing it the last couple of cycles.
And anyway, let's talk a little bit about the Des Moines Register ad. We're going to talk a little bit about fear-mongering. Here, I mean, consistently, Braley and Ernst have run fairly close. Sometimes Ernst is up 4%. Sometimes Braley's up 4%. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, they're within 2% of each other, well within margin of error. This is the way it's been consistently until last Thursday when the Des Moines Register took a poll and said, Joni Ernst is up by 7%.
Yep.
And it hit all the social media. The Des Moines Register could not shut up about, oh, my God, she's up by 7%. What's going on? She's in the middle of this surge. And I'm looking at this, and this is at the same time the Quinnipiac poll's coming out.
Quinnipiac, yeah.
And
Loras College.
Yeah, Loras College. The whole show, they're still neck and neck.
1 point up. Loras College, I think, had Bruce Braley up by a point. Quinnipiac had Ernst up by maybe a point or two. And my brother-in-law texted me earlier this morning and asked about that, and whether I thought it was an outlier. Yeah. Well, I'll just jump in with my first take on this because it's Anne-Marie Selzer is the one who runs that poll, and she is regarded nationally as the gold standard in pollsters just by pretty much everybody. I don't think there's any argument between the two of us about that. She one of the few pollsters, national pollsters, who got an A+ from statistical golden boy Nate Silver at the 538 blog. Just they do it really well at the Iowa poll. I got called by them about a month ago, I think. And it was really, the questions were worded in a kind of a really neutral way. And I thought that it was a pretty easy thing to be a part of. And I find that 7-point lead a little tough to believe a little bit. Not that it's, and I say this knowing full well that the folks that disbelieve poll numbers are on the right side of the political sphere. So at least over the last couple of years. So I'm not suggesting that the model is wrong. I'm not suggesting that those numbers are wrong from the sample that she took, but it's surprising given how close it's been everywhere else.
Yes,
it
absolutely.
looks, taken in a vacuum, it looks like an outlier, but given that it's her, given that it's the Des Moines Register Iowa poll, I think the Democrats need to be even more worried than they have been already. That's one of those things where things weren't going well. They were having a tough time. They're really going to need the union support to break the right way, the independents to break the right way. And then this poll seems to suggest, I read a little bit of a blurb that the Washington Post had on her when they were interviewing, like, wow, you've been really criticized. Bruce Braley really came out and attacked you. And she said, well, I'm used to that, but, we just came out and we did our thing, and all these independents were saying, yeah, we're kind of turned off by him. So
yeah. And
I think it's a huge problem.
Yeah. Well, and on the other side, and I agree it's a huge problem, but on the other side, let's just be honest here. Tom Harkins represented Iowa forever, right? Mm-hmm. Forever. I was working for the senator he beat the year he got elected. right? So that was what, 70, no, it'd be 82. I think it was 82. Anyway, he's been representing us forever. He's tall, he's good looking, he's well liked, he's articulate. He fights for what he believes in. He is a statesman. The only problem is he's a liberal, well, which, wipes out everything else. The bottom line is here's Braley, the heir apparent, and barely mentions Harkin at all throughout his campaign.
Nope.
Barely at all. If I was
Harkin didn't campaign for him. Are you kidding me?
No, he didn't. No, and then then we talked about the Harkin steak fry, how they shoved it in his eye there.
Yep.
So I don't know what this guy has done to alienate him, but I just said, hey, listen, Tom Harkin's behind me. I'm taking his seat. I'll be the next Tom Harkin. I'll fight for you. I'll fight for Iowa. I'll fight for the. Didn't say any of that. But and the only thing anybody's ever going to remember is what he said about. Well,
he didn't come up with anything to change that narrative at all. And this is the guy that came out and wiped the floor with Republican challenger after Republican challenger in a district that has a lot of unions, that's really heavily Democratic, but still has some pretty conservative pockets up there in the first district.
Yes.
And that district could very well go to Rod Blum. After today, it very well could. Pat Murphy has run a dismal campaign up there.
He has, and he's been roundly criticized in national media. It's like, I don't know what has happened, but I think what has happened is everybody's counted on Obama's coat strings. Because keep in mind, when that guy runs, people want to be part of it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of the problem is people are now suffering from some burnout.
Well, you're seeing party fatigue the way that we saw it in 2004, 2006. You're seeing a little bit of that. But I touched on this a little bit in the piece that I wrote for the website. What's just continually surprises me about this election cycle, and probably what it's going to look like in 2016, what do the Republicans have to run on at this point? It's wonderful for a Joni Ernst or a David Young, well, not so much him, but for any of these Republicans around the country to run on liberty and freedom, and
you have to have some details.
They're going to take control of the Senate. They're going to probably make gains in the House, and Iowa's going to go. It's probably going to go 2 Republican senators, which it hasn't done in over 40 years, right?
Yep.
Or 30 years.
Yeah.
Based on really nothing. Obama's bad, vote for us. We're scared of everything that the Democrats do, vote for us, but we have no policy prescriptions.
And nothing coming forward.
And nothing and we actively advertised and campaigned in the House of Representatives. We're proud of the do nothing label. Yeah. What are we electing them for?
All right. Well, we're going to get back to that subject. We're going to talk a little bit about what it's going to mean to the average American if the Republicans get control of the House and Senate. We're also going to continue on a little bit with the Des Moines Register poll that Lefty and I both agree came straight out of left field for no apparent reason. Mm-hmm. We want to thank our sponsors. First and foremost, Dr. Lee Heeb, Heeb2014.org. We wish her well in tonight's election. Des Moines Anesthesia, PC. Their number is 515-574-6442. Petrosian Associates, Lubinas Law Firm, and Halo Capital. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and DocandLefty.com. We'll be back right after this break.
I'm Lee Heeb. I'm candidate for Iowa governor. Some of you don't know what a libertarian is, and you think we're kind of crazy and that we wear these things on our head. You know what's crazy? It's crazy to continue to vote for the 2 big parties who for years have taken special interest funds, have taken that money, have legislated in favor of their special interest buddies at the expense of all of us. You've heard of the great right-wing conspiracy. Let me tell you the great libertarian conspiracy. We want to take over government, shrink government, and leave you alone. When it comes to economic growth, the answer is really not that complicated. If you look around the country, the states that are doing well have no income tax and are deregulated. We, on the other hand, have one of the highest personal income taxes. We have the very top corporate tax in the nation, and we're regulated to death. Did you know that raw milk is outlawed in the state of Iowa? Really, raw milk? I mean, first of all, we're the heartland of rural agriculture. But here's the important point. Will a state who doesn't trust you to choose your milk trust you with buying a weapon? Will a state that doesn't trust you with raw milk trust you to choose your own health care? Will a state that won't trust you with raw milk trust you to educate your children? Am I truly free if I can't decide what to eat, what to drink, as long as I'm not harming another person? As a Navy officer, I took an oath to defend the Constitution. Now, there's a part of the Constitution that says, shall not be infringed. It's the Second Amendment. I have a concealed carry permit, but really, why do I need one? I have the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment, our right to carry firearms, is what supports all the other Bill of Rights. In November, have the courage to vote differently. Think about being more attached to your liberty and less attached to your political party.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around for the first half hour. I suppose we got to keep talking about this crazy thing that's happening, that happens every 2 years. That, boy, it is a slog in civil civil participation in the election today. But this,
well, I'm really surprised that 533 people voted in my district. I really am. That's a lot of people. And, considering that, sometimes we get up around 1,000 people in our particular area, this is for an off year election. This is huge. Now I'm going to give you my slant a little bit on the Des Moines Register thing. I think it's another blatant attempt by the Des Moines Register at fear mongering to motivate their base to come out and vote. I believe they do that. I will tell you, on the campaign trail, the questions we were asked were so slanted, it was insane. And the questions they softballed to every Democrat out there, it was like, this is the same, and it's from the same reporters. And you're just like, wow. And then one time, they put two distinctly different articles regarding Obamacare right next to each other. So you could see exactly how slanted this one Jason Clayworth was in his coverage of it. So that's my take on it, because that doesn't explain how else it goes. Now, how could you, either this one poll just struck a chord at the right time and, all the planets aligned, or there's something fishy to it?
Well, remember that this.
Well, I know I'm going for the conspiracy.
Well, I know you are. I know, and you love it, and you love it. And I'm always gonna be.
I'm right a lot,
and I'm always gonna be exasperated with you when you do, because I mean, you were the guy. It's so funny. It shouldn't surprise me that you have a problem with the poll, because you were. I don't want to play gotcha with you, because you remember this. You were predicting a Mitt Romney win in 2012, just like every other Republican. You didn't think it was going to be a landslide, but you thought that Obama was going to get voted out, and the poll, and we had a whole show about the weighted polls and all this other stuff. So I shouldn't be surprised. But what's so interesting to me about your take on it is that at this point, coming out a couple of days before the election, when the Republicans are matching Democrats with absentee votes and early voting and all the rest of it, you're probably right, a 51 to 44% finding in a random sample size. They called Ernst people randomly,
yes,
or independents who were still cheesed at the farmer comment randomly. Yeah. Because this poll, the Iowa poll, has been lauded across the country by liberals and conservatives as a pretty decent, as a really good poll, really good indicator. 7 points. It just seems. I don't think they even believe that 7 points is the margin of victory. But
I don't think anybody believes that. So, I mean, that's just why I'm saying, maybe. Oh, Dr. Heaves on the phone.
I would assume.
All right. Well, I don't have a set of earphones, so I'll just listen in as carefully as I can.
Okay.
Hey, Doc, how you doing?
Hey, very well. We're celebrating over here at New Mexico, and then we're moving the party out elsewhere.
Oh man,
right. Yeah, that sounds good. I think Blake and I will try to stop by, because that's not on your way home anymore, though, is it? Over there in Clive.
Mexico? No, it's not.
I want to try to stop by.
We're going to be moving over to the Sterling Inn Suite 1322.
Oh, 1522? Yep. Great. We'll broadcast that out. You'll have 10,000, 12,000 people showing up out there.
I don't know that you.
A case of champagne, but you can bring your own.
And I don't know that you would want all of our listeners there. It's a motley crew, Doc.
Yes, yeah, especially the liberals.
Libertarian-leaning ones.
Yeah, that's right. You get a bunch of
They'll be bringing the good stuff. That's for sure.
That's right. Especially the folks coming back from their trips to Colorado.
Yes, yeah, because
Well, we're not celebrating that way.
well, you're libertarian, aren't you? Man, I tell you what.
I know. I brought Simon Connolly brownies, and he accused me of spiking them. It's gluten-free, Simon.
Oh man, hey, why? Now you had a poll out that showed you were at what 26% or something like that.
Yeah, 21% to Patch's 6%. So I was pretty happy with that. That was Simon's drive-by poll.
Wow, really? Holy cow!
So we don't know. You know, who knows what's going to happen? You know, the polls are just such a game, and you know, when you pay for a poll, I think you're just paying for a mouthpiece that tells you something, and maybe there's some reality to it.
Well, yeah. Well, we were just talking about polls and how crooked they could be, and especially the Des Moines Register. So, what's your take on this poll between from the Des Moines Register that showed Ernst winning by 7% right before the election?
You know, like I say, there's a lot of improbable things going on if you watch what in the history of politics. I mean, you know, Sharon Ingle lost in Nevada against Harry Reid at a level she should never that had never been lost. When you're ahead 7% in the polls, never been happening before. So, you know, I honestly don't think. I don't know what to say. Either it's just a crapshoot and it's basically not as valid because, you know, if you only call people on landlines, you know, I bet there's not very many of us at the libertarian table here who have a landline. I mean, you know, younger people don't watch TV. It's just the demographics and the way we social network and all that stuff. It's changed everything, and I just don't know what all that means. But I do think that polling is a great way to manipulate public opinion so that people do what they want them to do. I mean, suddenly Hatch has this resurgence in the polls. Okay, who benefits from that? Well, I would say it would be the governor who could then go to his people and say, hey, you wishy-washy Republicans, don't you dare vote for that libertarian because it's getting close.
See, now I just have made the same point to Lefty.
Yeah.
He thinks we're both crazy and conspiracy theorists. So, you know, with that, do you mind if we take a quick commercial break? We'll be right back with you, Lee. Can you hang on? All right.
I can hang on.
All right, great. We're going to be back after the break. We're going to discuss the governor's race a little bit with Dr. Lee Heeb and get her take on some of the polling issues that are going on. We want to thank everybody for tuning in, and we want to thank DJ Matty G for spinning the discs back there. Is that the new phrase?
She's on the ones and twos, my friend.
Yeah, all right, baby. We'll be back right after the break. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit! You're our hero!
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around with us here on Election Day. We've got Dr. Lee Heeb, Libertarian candidate for the governor's office in this 2014 election, on the phone with us. We're talking about that right now, and Dr. Bertroche, I'm going to call you idiot. How about that?
All right.
I'm going to call her Doc and call you idiot.
All right. Well,
no, but Doc. So, Pat, what's
all right,
so
Looney.
what? Yeah, that's right. That's right. We have those. That's our pet names, Dr. Heeb. Those are what we call each other when we're off the air.
Hello.
Oh, are you still there?
Uh-oh.
You're surrounded by too many doctors.
There you go. There you go. It's a little bit of a delay. No, you're absolutely right. And sometimes my own doctorate of jurisprudence just doesn't seem to add up.
No, it doesn't.
Why it was awarded to me doesn't add up either. But,
no, it doesn't.
So you had I know that you want to talk a little bit about the race.
Yeah.
Pat.
So hey, Doc, now you got some good news from Simon Conway's poll. How do you have any idea how you're doing so far tonight? I mean, is there any kind of exit polling showing anywhere?
Well, I don't. But the unofficial exit polling, I mean, the fun thing is, I got to tell you, no matter what else has happened, we have raised the consciousness of Iowans. Somebody just told me they were in a grocery store and they heard this lady say, I must be a libertarian. I didn't know it. And I said, that's a big step for us, with from going to wearing tinfoil hats and being all about drug legalization to suddenly people saying, gee, they're supporting my liberty. They're about mainstream ideas like smaller government, or they're trying to mainstream these ideas of smaller government, individual liberty, personal responsibility. And suddenly it's kind of resonating, and I think that's a huge accomplishment.
Oh, I think so, too. I'll also tell you that there are far more Hebe signs out in my area than there are hat signs. And you're running neck and neck with Branstad, at least in my area.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
The thing with the Hatch signs, I mean, let's face it, Hatch is not running against Branstad, he's running with them. This is like WWF, where everything is scripted. So I could have told you that there weren't going to be much there.
Yeah, absolutely. So how's the rest of the ticket going? Do you have any idea? Because
we just don't have too much feel about it. I mean, Jake Porter has heard that he has heard that he's got percentages that are above what he's ever gotten before. So we're, but we don't know. That's just unofficial so far. And pre-voting, the early voting, which does kind of hurt us. Early voting is routinely not third party. So we don't know. I'll tell you one of the things that happened. Okay. So at the very nth hour, 2 days ago, I get a call, and the Des Moines Register wants to interview me, and the Ames newspaper wants to interview me. And I was very polite, and I gave them a nice interview. But then at the end, they'd ask me, well, do you want to say anything else? I said, well, let me just ask you guys something. I said, there are 2 business days before the election. 50% of people or 30% of people, a great number of people have already voted. Why are you calling me now? If you guys are really investigative journalists, if this is really about educating your people, educating the population about what the options are out there, you wouldn't be calling me now. You'd have been calling me 4 months ago. Same for Jake, same for all our candidates. So I just want you to know that we know that this is just to get a check in the box. We know what you're doing. I just don't get away with it. So,
good. So you're just out there winning friends and winning influence. Is that what you're doing?
I mean, I know you're not supposed to take the press to task, but you know what? At some point, we need to make them self-aware too.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
that's a
doing
theme.
This for years.
Yeah, that's a theme Lefty and I talk about all the time is media bias and how really it's not helping America anymore. It's really hurting it. So
very much, and that's why I really appreciate the opportunity that you invited me a long time ago on the show and other candidates. And I think it's nice to have your type of show where you actually reach out to look at different views, and that's the ethics statement, by the way, in the Iowa Public TV.
Yeah, absolutely. And we would have had a debate here had we been able to get anybody besides you on here.
Well, I couldn't say it myself. I did
we
that
tried.
all the time in the car.
We called Jonathan Narciss to see if he wanted to do it. He didn't want to do it. So we could have debated you.
I heard some just shocking news that this morning some of our overzealous supporters seem to have dropped a whole bunch of libertarian campaign signs on Iowa TV's front yard.
Oh, man.
No kidding.
Yeah, so I mean,
hey, more power to them.
Supporters. Yeah, I can't control your supporters.
Yeah, well, more power to them, So anyway, well, thanks a lot, Lee. We appreciate you calling in, taking time out of your busy schedule, because here pretty soon you're going to be heading over to watch the election results, right?
We certainly are.
All right. Well, good luck to you.
Thanks a lot.
All right.
Thanks so much.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Well, that was a lot of fun having Lee Heath call in.
Always.
I should have asked her about Ebola, but I think we've Ebola'd everything to death.
I'm exhausted with the topic. I've got a slight headache.
Well, yeah, and I do too, but I'm just going to leave it at this. It's funny how the White House comes out with something, every liberal in the universe parrots it. You know, it's just, it's like,
as opposed to,
it's like a ditto head. That's what it's like.
As opposed to any other time with any other president.
Well,
is that different?
Well, at least Republicans don't, just don't drink the Kool-Aid. We try to think about it a little bit.
Oh, like
I'm just saying.
Good grief. Okay, we're not talking about that right now because we got more important and more interesting things to discuss. Like, well, we got the poll done, right? I think we handled the Iowa poll.
We've covered the polls.
My final thought on it is, it's hard not to trust that source. In my opinion, it's hard not to trust the Iowa poll, and so my default setting is they tapped into something that's real and they reported it in an accurate way. But boy, I mean, no one
picked up on it.
No one has come out with anything that was that far apart.
But it did cover social media. It covered Twitter and Facebook like you wouldn't believe.
Absolutely. But here's my question. Well, of course it did, because it was different.
Yes.
But here's my question to you. So what would be your here 2 hours before the polls close prediction for the Senate campaign?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I think Joni Ernst has run about as good of a campaign as you could expect under the circumstances. First, she's female, and second, she's a conservative Republican. The left has really come out swinging. A lot of the we reviewed some of the commercials. A lot of them were very effective. And you can debate the merits of their truthfulness. That goes both ways, but they were very effective. Joni has really stayed away from exposing herself to any kind of criticism.
Yep.
She's not going on any shows unless she controls it. She's very careful with her image.
Denied interviews to the 3 biggest newspapers in the state.
Yeah, which, honest to goodness, if you're conservative, that's probably the best option, because they're not going to give you a fair shake, I don't think. And here she is, still in the race, for a seat that Bruce Braley should have easily won. And I think it's a reflection that she's run a very good campaign, and Bruce Braley has not run a very good campaign.
Well, I think that
my prediction is that she's going to squeak one by. I think she's going to squeak it by.
I think she's going to win by 4 points.
You think so?
I think so, and I think she's going to do it. I think that she's going to do it as in large part because Bruce Braley hasn't run a very good campaign the way that you said, and that she's run a campaign. Honestly, she hasn't said anything of any kind of substance throughout. I mean, there was the comparison of the ads. Now, you're right. The negative advertising on both sides, we could say, in the defense of both campaigns, was mainly the outside PACs.
Yes.
That dumped a lot of money into this election. I think that the last, we're talking millions and millions of dollars of outside of Iowa money dumped into this election. I mean, on both sides, lots of negative advertising. Bruce Braley, I would say a tad more negative than maybe he would have been had he been running ahead of her. But one of the most recent ads she had out there was that she is for, talking about what she's for, which is protecting Social Security for our senior citizens. And this is a point that Dennis Goldford made last week. Something no one's arguing about. Yeah. No one's arguing about that.
Yeah,
Senator
absolutely.
Ernst. No, but so what's your stance then? What do you really believe about stuff?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so my point is not that she's a bad person or a bad candidate or whatever. Vote your conscience, but still.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the old phrase is, if you're watching your opponent commit suicide, you don't talk to him.
You certainly
you don't try to talk him off the ledge.
No,
you go,
you certainly
here
don't.
You go, buddy. Here's a cigarette before you go.
That's a good point.
And so, that's really what it is. We're going to be back right after the break. I want to thank all of our sponsors, Lee Heeb, Heeb2014.org, Petrosian Associates, Lubinas Law Firm, Halo Capital, Des Moines Anesthesia at 515-574-6442. Follow us at docandlefty.com, Facebook and Twitter. We have a couple of new blogs up, and hopefully we'll get a couple more this week. We'll be back right after this break. We're going to finish up the show. We're going to talk a little bit about the future of the Libertarian Party and how winning the Senate may impact you. We'll be back right after this break. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Petrosian Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. We are proud to work with military personnel and their families. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Bertroche provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere. Our licensed mental health therapists provide individual counseling to children, adolescents, and adults, including couples and marital counseling. Visit our website at bertrocheandassociates.com for more information or call 515-334-9484. Our offices are located at 5525 Meredith Drive in Des Moines, just east of Skate North off Merle Hay Road. Isn't it time to talk to someone? Take care of yourself and your family. Contact Bertroche and Associates.
Hey, welcome back for the last and final hurrah here before I'm going to give you my last encouragement to go out and vote. You've got an hour and a half, folks, so just go out and do it. Let's talk about this here at the very end of the show. Talk about why voting is a good thing. Or it's not a very interesting thing to talk about because I think that we mostly agree, or there's this general sense in the country that voting is a positive thing, that voting is a good thing, and that you should vote, that you should do it. You have a responsibility as a citizen to exercise your franchise and vote your conscience, whatever that might be. I saw something from a friend of mine on Facebook today that was basically it was a blog post about saying using the meme keep calm and don't vote. Saying you're going to hear a lot about not voting and how you don't have the right to complain, which is the subject of your most recent thing, and how that's bullying, and if you don't feel like voting that you don't have to, and get over it, everybody. And what's your response to that?
Well, read my post. My response, I think, is perfect. The lesson I learned when I didn't vote, because I had a choice between Obama or McCain. So as a conservative, I went, Jesus, criminy, I'm not even going to go vote. Mm-hmm. And what I learned is I gave up my freedoms. I gave up my right to decide what I do. I gave up my right to tell my legislators what to do. That's what I did when I didn't vote. Now, if you don't feel like voting, don't feel like voting. But I'm going to guarantee you, because this is my response after this experience, if I hear you bitching, the first thing I'm going to say is, did you vote? If you said yes, carry on. If you said no, I'm going to say, get in the back of the line. Because the bottom line is, this is your opportunity to express your opinion in the best way that we have regarding our current government.
And what if you don't like anybody?
Yeah, and the truth of the matter is both Democrats, outside of Obama, both Democrats and Republicans have put up a lot of people nobody likes. That's the truth. The thing is you have to stop and you have to consider, well, what am I voting for here? And that's why voting for local races is so important.
And it's the thing people do the least.
Yes, that's just true. And you have to be able to go vote. You have to be able to go be able to express yourself. There was a couple of elections in 2004 and 2008 where at least in Newton, in Jasper County, the deciding factor on who carried that county was 2 votes. There's twice that happened. That is close.
Right.
When you start looking at the number of votes that are cast, right? Yeah, you out of the thousands cast may not be the deciding vote, but you could be. Honest to goodness, and especially at the very local level.
Well, it betrays a level of apathy that, expanded to its logical conclusion, is damaging to the constitutional, the democratically elected constitutional republic that we have in this country.
Yeah, absolutely. And the truth of the matter is, think of the things you get to do when you vote. You get to tell people what you think. You get to tell people. And it's a big deal. It really is.
But the other